Hello and welcome to our May 1st Act at Home. Today we are talking about cooking from your cupboard. If you haven't attended an Act at Home virtual chat before, we do these every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. Central. Sometimes they're about issues that we work on, or sometimes they're about activities you can do while staying safer at home. Today we're joined by Liz Wessel, who's the chair of the Four Lakes Group, among many other things at the Sierra Club, member of the transportation team, and many more hats, I would say. And she's going to help kick off our conversation about cooking while you're staying at home.
Thanks, Cassie. Well, I suggested this topic because I really enjoy cooking a lot. It's kind of my let down my hair at the end of the day thing to do, relax, kind of meditative. And I often don't really plan ahead. So it's kind of a surprise when I go down to the kitchen at 5 and kind of like poke around in my refrigerator and in my cupboards and kind of see what's there and come up with some sort of concept. And in these times, I'm trying to resist running off for that one extra ingredient or two, and making it once a week, or even we didn't go shopping for 10 days. So just trying to figure out things. And I'm not a great meal planner, so I don't plan all my meals out in advance. I just find ingredients when we go shopping and then hang on to them. And then suddenly I'm like thinking, oh, well, what can I do with this? So the other thing I wanted to say is part of my love of cooking led to what we did for some fundraising for the John Muir chapter, which we did locally grown, nationally known fundraisers. And we made all the ingredients from, or as much as we could, from locally sourced fruits, vegetables, and other ingredients around the state. So when we were in Milwaukee, we shopped at the local farmers markets. And when we were here in Madison, we did the same. And we just really had a lot of fun with it and came up with a lot of different recipes as well. So one thing that got me inspired from that experience was stuffing. And I often now have either a bag of breadcrumbs or stuffing in my cupboard. And the reason was we found making bread pudding was awesome. So we did all different types of bread pudding for the fundraisers. And since then, I've been making it for my husband, who loves it when we make it. So it can take almost any ingredient you've got in your refrigerator. But this one's gluten-free, so you could go gluten-free. But you can also, this one is, bread pudding really does kind of require at least eggs and maybe not milk, but you can get away without milk, but it does require making a custard of some sort. So, but then from there, it's kind of like, what do you have? Chard, carrots, celery. You can really go wild, and fresh herbs are always good. And it comes out great. So, I mean, I've really found this to be great. And in fact, tonight I'm going to be making a stuffed eggplant. It's sort of Greek style. And I have a pile of mushrooms, and it calls for a little bread. So I'm using my bread stuffing for that. And it could be croutons too. Croutons work the same way. So if you do a lot of Caesar salad, that's another great way to do it. My other standby is having a pad thai box in my closet, and this is good for vegetarians and gluten-free because usually they're rice noodles. And I'm one of those people that I usually have an extra thing of pad thai sauce in my cupboard as well. So it's kind of a good thing. In fact, we're just finishing a pad thai, and we had a cauliflower that needed to be used up. We had some shrimp in our freezer. We've used peas, frozen peas. You can, again, it's one of these dishes, really good comfort food, but you can just pretty much take what you've got and work with it and make it into a delicious dish. And I've surprised my neighbors before, so they like that. And then the other one that I really think is great is garbanzo beans. you got to have a big can of garbanzo beans. And I always have some beans, different types, but garbanzo I like in particular because it goes both well with salads. So you can go cold with salads and different types of ingredients. And it gives that protein if you're a vegetarian, or it goes hot really well. And one of our favorite dishes is cooking garbanzo beans up with chard or spinach, some onion, you could throw a can of tomatoes in there or fresh tomatoes, but it really is a nice way to start a dish. And then you can go different seasonings. You can go Mediterranean, so you can throw in some oregano or whatever you've got on your shelf, or you can go, which we do a lot. We do a lot of curry, cumin, the warm spices. So it's very versatile that way. So I really like garbanzo beans, and we use them a lot. And they also make great dips. If you want to make, you can smash them up and make it into a really hearty dip that's also nutritious. So those are kind of some starters from my cupboard, but I really liked I must say, I really did like the stuffing thought, because it's just a great way to make a great dish and reminds me of Thanksgiving, which I really like too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that, Liz. It's so funny that you mentioned the eggplant, mushroom, and bread recipe that you're looking at, because I was going to bring up that I've been cooking a ton of mushrooms and a ton of eggplants, and I'm looking for something new to do with those two fresh ingredients. And I do have croutons, so I might eat the same thing that you're eating tonight.
I can send you that recipe. I found it this morning. It's on my email.
That's great. Maybe we'll link it when we post the recording so that others could eat that with us.
And if you want a link, we can do a link to the savory bread pudding recipe we've used for the fundraiser, which is really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. Anyone else on the call bring ingredients that they want to share?
Oh, I just wholeheartedly agree about the garbanzo beans. I always have several in my pantry. They're so good with so many things, and I love making my own hummus too.
Yep.
I agree. I always have beans. I have an interesting one. I bought a bunch of these packages of Honor the Earth's wild rice. So it's a benefit to the pipeline fight. It's wild rice grown where the pipeline would go. So I have a ton of wild rice. So any creative ideas for what to do with wild rice, I would love them.
Well, my first reaction to really feature the rice is wild rice salad, and especially we're going into summer, but with cranberries and if you eat meat, you can obviously throw that in, and like smoked turkey or some of the smoked stuff is really good with the wild rice. But if you're a vegetarian, obviously you don't do that. But I love wild rice salad, especially with a little bit of fruit and seasoning and different celery. Got to have some crunch, something crunchy in there. There's something else. There's something else that's going to come to me, because I'm thinking there's something else with wild rice that I really love, but I can't remember what it is right now.
Yeah, it's good in soups. I also like wild rice with similar to the salad idea, but it's really good with like arugula. And then you could either go sweet with it with like the cranberries, like Liz had suggested. I like wild rice, arugula, and goat cheese and cranberries. You could do beets with it, or you could go more savory and do like an onion tomato route. So those are some of my ideas.
Make it like a Brazilian rice, like with nuts and just like a pilaf, but just add some nuts and some other stuff. Orange works well with wild rice. Little orange if you've got it. Other things? What do you have, Cassie?
Yes. So I brought some things that I have not been using but would love ideas about. So one of my former neighbors used to work at a grocery store that was discounting all of their almond bark. And so I have like 3 full packages of this almond bark. And then my other ingredient, I impulse bought steel cut ready oats. I make a lot of oatmeal cookies, but looking for other ideas. So yes, almond bark and steel cut oats are my 2 ingredients that I found in my cupboard recently when I was cleaning it out and not sure how to proceed with them.
I've got some ideas immediately, but not so much on the almond bark, but on the steel cut oats. We often make spontaneous fruit crumbles with, so you just put the steel oats in with butter or whatever you're using, and then, you know, get a crumble going, and you can put other seeds and, you know, sweetener, maple syrup, or whatever you're using. And then either put it as a base or then just put in the fruit with it, apples or whatever you've got. We've done that a lot of times, or berries, you know, whatever's hanging out. We definitely usually have apples hanging out, so it's usually with apples. And then the other thing I did, using up, Dina left me my daughter left me this huge bag of, I think that's what it is. But we've been using those up, doing some other, I made some granola bars. And I actually made those granola bars for one of our chapter fundraisers. It was a recipe we found. It was really good and pretty easy to make. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say granola bars. I've made homemade granola bars before too, and those are really easy. And then also I've been making some veggie burgers from scratch recently, and a lot of them call for oat flour, either to because veggie burger mix is usually pretty wet. So if you pad them with oat flour, that's how you get that crunch and that nice brown on the outside. So you can pulse it up in a food processor, which is what I've been doing. And then I love just oatmeal, put some nut butter in there, whatever other random nuts and dried fruit, whatever you have fresh, always solid. But the veggie burgers have been really fun to do.
That's going to be my realm of exploration, I think, is veggie burgers.
I was going to say, it's not very creative, but I did eat steel cut oats 3 days this week with strawberries because it's like berries galore right now.
I know. Sorry, we don't have any ideas so far about the almond bark.
No, I would just say make some giant amount of whatever recipe looks good and give it to every single person you know as a pick-me-up right now. I don't know how to get rid of that very easily.
Yeah, I signed up to do some cooking for mutual aid network. So maybe I will make a ton of almond bark covered dipped pretzels or something like that as a dessert item to share.
That's a really good idea, to dip something in them and just store them. Yeah.
Excellent. Any other ingredients or ideas that people want to share?
Ooh, so I love polenta, and I've made it a bunch of different ways, but I'm curious if any of you guys have used it in a way that you're super enthusiastic about, because I love it.
I'm just beginning my explorations on polenta because I bought some local polenta, and I can't remember the grinder or the mill. But what we tried first was really good, except, I mean, we're meat eaters. We're still meat eaters. But we did it with a lot of chicken stock and onion and just made it into, we did the bake method. So you cook it a little bit on the stove top, and then you put it in a square pan, and then you bake it. And it was incredible. It was really good. So I'm ready to explore more.
I've got a good vegan tamale pie recipe. So it's kind of like a chicken pot pie, but with polenta instead of, or like a shepherd's pie, but polenta instead of the mashed potatoes, and then Mexican flavors and stuff. That was very good.
Okay, you
And
need to send me
beans.
that.
Yeah, and beans, because we all have beans all the time.
That reminds me, Elizabeth, yeah, because we've got a family tamale pie recipe, and we often use the polenta in there, and I've made it vegetarian before, so yeah, that's really good.
I am dead serious. That is next on my list of things to make. I'm very excited now. You have to share that link with me and with everybody listening.
Yes, I want to throw one more into the mix. One of the first meals I made when I started staying at home and cooking lunches, since I'm here and not in the office, I made fried green tomatoes over cheesy jalapeno polenta. So similar to like a fried green tomato and grits type thing, but polenta instead of grits. And yeah, I did onion, garlic, and jalapeno, and then added some cheese at the end. And whatever cheese you happen to have in your fridge worked out pretty well. I think cheddar would be best, but I think I only had Parmesan that day, so it worked out.
Oh yeah, I mean, the way I make it usually is on the stovetop and then just a ton of Parmesan cheese in it because that's a very traditional like Italian way of making it. I had it that way a lot. Yeah, and plus Parmesan cheese is delicious with everything. So
I want to shout out one more ingredient, which I think Elizabeth would agree with, because again, it was something we made at the fundraisers, but lentils are just an incredible ingredient for all sorts of things. So, and I think we made a dip that was made with lentils that Elizabeth shared. And then, so it can go as a dip, it can go as a salad, it can go as a main course, it could be in a casserole. And they're all types of different lentils. So, yeah, it's a very creative dish, creative ingredient.
I love that. Well, I think that we could probably brainstorm different recipes and ingredients in our cupboards all day. But I think we'll wrap the recording for those who are watching this recorded. Thank you for doing so. If you are interested in joining us for future chats, the ones that we have planned for this coming week are on Monday at 3 p.m. We're talking about the intersection between forests and climate. On Wednesday, we're talking about factory farming 101 and concerns about pollution related to that. And then Friday, we're talking about nature photography and how to capture wildlife behind the camera. So we hope you can join us next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and keep an eye on our social media accounts for other themes.
Yay!